The 1980s was the decade of excess, but when you're the royal family and everything's excessive anyway, what happens next? Let's get started. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Good evening, Your Majesty. Welcome to Thumb Together TV. My name is Andrew Fantasia. Today we're going to be talking about The Crown Season 4 together. As usual, if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up and give some love to that subscribe button as well. Otherwise, I will be forced to abdicate the throne, and God only knows who's going to take the seat of power. I'm just kidding. I don't have a throne. You know who does have a throne? Queen Elizabeth II. And damn, she gets up to some shenanigans in Season 4. Yes, for the past 4 seasons, The Crown has revolved around the royal family and everything they get up to. In Season 1, though, we also had the treat of seeing John Lithgow play Winston Churchill. And since then, we haven't really had any great, fantastic characters of history interacting with the royal family. Sure, there have been tons of people. We had the Kennedys at one point, all the revolving door of British prime ministers, but there's never been somebody as legendary as Churchill on the show to interact with the Queen and the rest of the royal family until now. Because Season 4 gives us not one, but 2 absolutely stunning performances by 2 absolutely stunning ladies. Yeah, we finally reached the point where we get Margaret Thatcher, the Iron Lady herself, and the Princess of Wales, Diana Spencer. And it feels to me like all of The Crown has been building up to this. Like, it feels like as soon as The Crown started and everybody knew, okay, this is what the show is going to be like, I feel like everybody was already turning to each other and saying, so eventually they're going to get to Diana and Thatcher, right? And now we're there. It took 4 seasons because there's a lot of ground to cover, but now we're finally at Diana and Thatcher. And boy howdy, this is British. We don't talk like that. Let's rewind. Instead of boy howdy, I'm going to say something a bit more, era appropriate here. Good gracious me. There, that's better. But good gracious me, did they ever make this worth the wait? Gillian Anderson plays a note-perfect Margaret Thatcher so well, and despite what your political leanings may be, remember Thatcher was a staunch conservative, you can't help but feel sorry for this woman when at the end of everything, she's basically booted out of the House of Parliament by the other ministers. Thatcher is genuinely heartbroken that she was not allowed to continue her admittedly already very long reign because people had just had enough of how cold she was. They don't call her the Iron Lady for nothing. It's a fascinatingly different dynamic than what's going on right now in the world with the American election, whereas we can't get rid of this man fast enough, and we're basically singing na 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 hey 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 goodbye as he exits the White House. But on the flip side of this, here we have another member of a conservative party who is making some decidedly not empathetic decisions while running a government. And yet when she is finally ousted by people who say we need someone with more heart calling the shots, we feel that this is not just some overgrown baby on a power trip like Trump. This is a woman who is genuinely trying her best to do what she believes is best for the country, and she lacks the kind of compassion that's needed when it comes to ruling other people. She's a hardworking, unflinching, extremely dedicated politician, but she was just missing that special something that kept her from being a leader. And there's a big difference between a politician and a leader. And it's a shame that, like with Lithgow's portrayal of Churchill before her, we only are going to get this one season with Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, because as of the end of Season 4, which ends, I believe, in December of 1990 or 1991, Thatcher is no longer in the picture. So it's a very, very slim chance that we will see Gillian Anderson again. She might get a guest spot later down the road, but as far as it looks, this is all the Thatcher we're getting. Thankfully, we got a bunch, and it was wonderful. Then on the other side of the coin, we have Emma Corrin as Lady Diana. I don't know where this lady came from, but it is kind of spooky how much she resembles and acts and embodies Princess Diana. To the point where I caught myself wondering many times, I don't know if the royals themselves in real life actually watch this show. They probably think it's a bunch of garbage or BS, and they're just like, oh no, this is not true. None of this is real. It's all fictitious. No, thank you. I will stick with The Price is Right. Thank you very much. But I found myself wondering over and over again, do Prince William and Prince Harry watch The Crown? Because if that had been me, if my mother, who I was very close with, died when I was a kid, and I have been, mentally scarred by that death ever since. And now all of a sudden, here's this show about my family's life, and now they get to the point where my mother comes into things, and I'm seeing a fictitious representation of how she met my father, and I see this woman who is staggeringly similar to her. What would that do? That would be so odd. I am so curious to know if William and Harry ever sit down and watch the show, and if they do, what did this season do to them emotionally? How did this hit them? And the sad part is, we haven't gotten to the sad part yet. Folks, season 4 ends, like I said, December 1990 or 91. Diana died in August of 97, which means we gotta wait till season 5 of The Crown to see the unfortunate, tragic end of Lady Diana Spencer. And with that, the very controversial way in which the royal family took the news. Now, whether or not you subscribe to conspiracy theories or whatnot, that's a topic for another show, and that's probably going to be a topic for when we cover season 5 in 2 years. God help us, that's going to be a long wait. But at least we know we have Diana for a bit of a longer haul, even though we're jumping forward in time again, starting with season 5, which means we're getting a whole new cast again. So Emma Corrin is not going to be playing Lady Diana Spencer. Apparently the role is going to be filled by Elizabeth Debicki, who you might have just seen this year in Tenet if you were some kind of weirdo who went to a movie theater during a pandemic. And of course, as riveting as the Diana Charles story is, you can't help but see how much history repeats itself, because it's telling the same story we've been seeing over the past 4 years of this show. Everybody was swept up in the whole fairy tale-ness of this marriage, of how Diana was this beautiful woman who was swept up into the comings and goings of the royal family and married a legitimate prince, and one day she would be queen, and it was just a Disney movie come to life. But as we've seen before on the show, the one drawback to being a royal is, you know what? True love is not going to happen for you. You take what you can get. It's like going to a restaurant where they don't have any of your favorite foods, so you just settle on house salad and hope it's a decent house salad. When King Edward, who was the rightful heir to the throne, fell in love with Wallis Simpson, they told him, nah, you can't marry this commoner, and also she's an American. You can't do that, so he abdicates the throne. He gives up not just his title and his power, but his standing within his family, because the way the family works, once you're off the throne and you do such a thing as abdicating, you're ostracized. They don't look you in the eye anymore. And he dealt with the pain of that for the rest of his life. Princess Margaret grew up having a wonderful, healthy relationship with Group Captain Peter Townsend. They fell in love. They wanted to be together. But nope, Princess Margaret is not allowed to marry a commoner like Group Captain Peter Townsend. And so the palace staff made sure he was whisked away and out of her life, so that she could marry someone more becoming of a princess. And she lived with the scars of that betrayal and that heartbreak for the rest of her life. Even our two leads, Prince Philip and Queen Elizabeth, did not exactly grow up as this wonderful cuddly couple who had stars in their eyes when they saw each other. Yes, they were sort of childhood friends, and it was sort of implied from the get-go that, yeah, these two are going to hook up. We already arranged everything. They had no choice in the matter. If you're a royal, forget true love. Somebody's already signed that contract for you. So even though this season really looks like it's painting Charles as some kind of unfaithful monster who treats Diana like garbage, yes, he is not being very nice to Diana at all. He is the most flippant he could possibly be with a human being's feelings. But I think rather than trying to just flat out say Charles is an asshole, I think what the show is doing is saying, look, here's another example of how the crown destroys people's souls. The reason Charles is doing all these things he's doing is due to the fact that he was forced to marry this girl. Yes, he saw her and was captivated by her and invited her over to the family home to hunt a stag, because that's what rich white people do, I guess. And he's the one who brought her into the fold to begin with, but because everybody was so transfixed by Diana, they were like, okay, great, she's the one. Buy her a ring right now. He had no say in the matter, and he is still inexplicably in love with Camilla Parker Bowles. So the concept of getting to marry your true love is the one thing that royals don't have. And I think that's what this show is trying to tell us. These are people who have everything. These are people who probably have a person standing by who would say, just so you know, Your Majesty, if you need me to wipe your bum, I will. That's how filthy rich the royals are, but there's still something they don't have. They're not allowed to have. And that is this utterly human, utterly simple concept of loving somebody, truly loving somebody, and being able to share the rest of your life with them. That choice is taken away from them from the second they draw their first breath. And as far as I can gather, Queen Elizabeth herself is the only person in this entire cast of characters who has never, as far as we know, been unfaithful to her spouse. Everybody else is reeling from the pain of having to be paired up with somebody that wasn't their choice, and they, act out on that pain by saying, well, I'm going to go out for a while. Don't wait up. I'm going 4 towns over for 3 days. Bye. It is emotionally unhealthy to be a royal. And that, I think, is what The Crown is trying to tell us. It's not trying to say, look at Charles, he's a big bad guy, he's a meanie for the way he's treating Diana. Yeah, shame on you, Charles, you treated Diana like crap. But they're not trying to paint him as this horrendous villain. They're trying to paint him as a royal who was doomed before he even had a chance to start. And Diana, conversely, was doomed the second she let her life become entangled in that shitstorm of bureaucracy and British keeping up appearances. Make no mistake, these people live lives of palaces and summer homes and spring homes and Rolls Royces, but this story is a tragedy. It's just a very, very long one. If there's one letdown to season 4, to me, it's just that Diana, Charles, and Thatcher were such powerful presences this year that in these 10 episodes, we got way more of them and way less of Elizabeth and Philip, who have been the mainstays of this entire series. And that's fine. I think it's important that we saw these other stories because they are sort of the focus of this season, and we all wanted to see as much Thatcher and Diana as we could. But I just hope, moving forward, that our focus gets drawn back to Elizabeth and Philip and the way things progress for them. I'm really looking forward to seeing Imelda Staunton and Jonathan Pryce take up those roles. It's so sad, though, with this show to have to keep saying goodbye to these casts just when you're getting really, really into the way they're playing these characters. But I guess that's what happens. We all grow old, and so do these characters. So a fond farewell to Tobias Menzies, to Helena Bonham Carter, and of course to Olivia Colman. That lady, as far as I'm concerned, she is my queen. But anyway, The Crown Season 4 is as fantastic as The Crown Seasons 1 through 3. It's all of that goodness, plus Thatcher, plus Diana, and we know there's much more to come as we move into the 90s and the modern era. I can't recommend this show enough. If you haven't been watching The Crown yet, what are you doing with your life? I'm Andrew Fantasia. That has been Thumb Together TV. I will see you all here next time, and until then, Your Majesty.